Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. My name is Nimesh, Radia, and I'm your host. I always love starting every episode by saying thank you. I feel so blessed with this podcast, the impact it's having, the people it's reaching. When I started, my objective was to share whatever knowledge I have and to simplify spirituality and guide people on their journey. And I love the messages I get on a weekly basis, and people seem to find it when they need it most. And the feedback I get so often is it feels like we're talking to you directly. So if you're listening and you're a regular listener, thank you for your support. If this is your first time you're listening to us, welcome. Welcome to have you here. And if you have any feedback, please let us know. I am an Akashic record reader, an Akashic trainer, podcast host, podcast creator, as well as a spiritual coach and mentor. And I love what I get to do. I get to guide people on their journey. I get to hold their space and truly help you to release the programming you've been holding on to truly connect with your light and understand why you're here. And I'm not here to fix anybody, but what I'm here to do is hold your space while you go through a shift. So if my voice resonates, reach out. I do that through a beautiful mentorship program that I channel with Stacey, who's here with me today. Also through Akashic Records. Every session is channeled. So if my voice resonates, please reach out. But the beauty of this podcast is I also get to interview some amazing guests and beautiful people. And we're excited to have Sabrina here with us today. And Sabrina has been a client for a few years. We've seen her light shift so much, so proud of how far she's come, how many shifts she's been through. And she's a great example of why I do what I do. She's just so open to feedback, so open to, and she's such a gifted healer. And I've loved guiding her and continue to love guiding her. And I'm so excited to have her on this episode. So Sabrina, love for you to introduce yourself. Over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Nims. I'm so happy to be here. So my name is Sabrina, and I'm from Quebec, Canada, and I am an artist. I am a light worker, and I am learning to use my gift as a healer and to also use my ability as a highly empath person. So I'm really excited to be here and to be on the program with Nim and Stacey. So thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Sabrina. And obviously, this podcast wouldn't be where it is today without my beautiful and stunning co-host, introducing the amazing, the stunning, the healer extraordinaire and published author, Stacey Brown. Stacey, you know I've got to do that, right?
Yeah,
It's not the same without it. So I'd love for you to introduce yourself. Over to you.
Friends, it's so good to be back with you. Every single week, I look forward to these episodes and what we channel and get to share with you. And we're just so grateful for our listening audience. So I want to say thank you as well. Thank you for being here and tuning in and being a part of this amazing community. My name is Stacey. I'm an intuitive. I do readings for people from around the world. I am also an Akashic record reader and a spiritual coach and mentor, and a published author. My book, Journey to Soul Center, Discovering the Gift of Surrender, is available on Amazon and Audible. I have a special right now on readings. If you want to get in before the end of the year, there's never been a better time. It's just $44 for a 30-minute session with me. If you're needing some clarity as we're heading into the new year, this is the time to do it. I'm deeply thankful for this audience and for the opportunity we have to pour into you today. And I'm really excited that we have Sabrina here with us. This is going to be a fascinating episode. I just know it.
Thank you, Stace. So this episode was inspired by Sabrina. Sabrina suggested that, this would be a great conversation. And I guess the inspiration is the time that we've just been through, the time that we're going through has been intense, and a lot of closing of cycles, a lot of karmic closure, and a lot of things shifting and changing. And it just felt like a beautiful time to have a conversation around this phase that we're in right now, the lessons from it, and the closing of soul contracts and truly standing in your power, which just Sabrina and Stacey are great examples of people who have gone through so many shifts and are standing in their power. So Sabrina, I'd love to start with you first. Just this episode was inspired by you. So I'd just love for you to share, why now? What inspired you to reach out? And by the way, well done for being brave and asking. So this was your idea. You reached out proactively and suggested this episode. So I'm proud of you for doing that. But yeah, share what was your inspiration.
So I started a program with you because I feel like something was off in my life. And I wanted to dive more into spirituality and, be a better person. And this journey really bring me to a place that I didn't expect at all. And at that time, I was married. I moved to the United States, and I was, in that new phase of my life. And things unfold in a really unexpected way. And the first time you asked me to be on a podcast episode, I was really like in the grief of everything that I've been going through, and I was too hurt, too sensitive, too vulnerable, and I was too afraid to tell my story. I was sorry. Yeah, it was really hard for me at that time, and I think in a way I kind of regret not having the courage to do it at that time. But like you said, everything is divinely guided and timing. So it's been 13 months today that I am back in Canada, and that my life have completely changed. And I thought it was time to go public about it, to not be afraid anymore to share my story. It's because other people share their story that I was able to make that difficult shift and decision in my life. And I am so grateful for other people to speak their truth and tell their story. So I wanted to do the same because I'm sure I can inspire other people to have the courage to choose themselves and do what they have to do, is then despite the fear and the doubt and the loneliness. So that's why I wanted to do that episode, and I am really happy and proud to be here today and to be able to share my story.
Beautiful and beautiful. Thank you for the nudge. And I know that the episodes we had a few weeks ago with Stacey being so vulnerable and sharing what was happening in her world kind of was also part of that inspiration. And I'd love for you to share more about your story. And I guess I should point out that the work that me and Stacey do, and actually Sabrina's working on being that spiritual mentor too. But the work that we do is really about holding people's space while they go through a transition. And I really do feel like sometimes the work that we do should come with a health warning, right? Because we go deep, and we help you to understand that when the soul contracts are done, and for Sabrina, it's led to her actually moving twice, in the space that we've been working together. And it gave me goosebumps when you said it was 13 months today. I was like, wow, isn't that crazy how these things work out? So, but Stacey, I'd love for you to share, because I feel like your vulnerability in those episodes a couple of weeks ago when you talked about your breakup is, I can feel has inspired a lot of people. And I know whenever I talk about your vulnerability being a superpower, you cringe. But I do think it's beautiful how you can be so vulnerable. So in many ways, you've inspired this episode too. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, your intuitive. How do you feel about this episode, and kind of in some way being the inspiration behind it?
It's so hard to show up on this podcast every week and be so open. It is something that, yes, it kind of just spills out of me. But afterwards, I'm always like, oh my gosh, like what just happened? And I have this feeling of not regret, but like just the insecure moments creep in after I've done the episode, right?
It's the human kicking in, right?
Yeah, it's the human kicking in after the episode, right? Where we've had this deep conversation, and so much of what we share is channeled, and we don't script anything. We just share from the heart. And afterwards is when the human kicks in, and it's like, okay, I just actually shared this like publicly for the world to hear. But there's something really beautiful that happens when you inspire someone else to be vulnerable in their journey. And so I felt so much excitement about Sabrina reaching out and wanting to be on the episode, because I felt like, okay, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is why I allow myself to be so uncomfortable. And to know that I've brought someone else to a space of wanting to share their journey publicly and share their pain publicly, there's no greater reward, because I really believe that from this space of vulnerability, that's where we can really learn from one another, and that's how we can heal. And that's what this podcast is all about. Right. And so the idea that I've inspired someone to show up on the podcast and share authentically and openly just brings me so much peace in what I'm doing. And there are so many times where afterwards I kind of want to like crawl under a rock and hide. And yet seeing that I've brought someone to a space of wanting to share and openly like give the world their journey is so rewarding. It's probably the greatest reward. I can't think of anything else that would feel better than knowing that I've inspired one person to share their journey. And, we get messages from our listening audience all the time about different episodes, things that have inspired you or touched you. And that is so beautiful. But to have somebody show up and say, I too want to share my journey, blows my mind. So I'm feeling gratitude today. I'm feeling gratitude for my vulnerability. I'm feeling gratitude for the journey and where it's brought me. And I'm feeling hope because I can see how much Sabrina has healed on her journey. And it inspires me to keep going, seeing someone else doing the same thing. So I'm excited, Nims.
I love it. I love it. And I couldn't agree more. It's like I was saying earlier, Sabrina's like an example of why we do this. It's just seeing somebody, those magic moments in your eyes when it's that epiphany, when you realize that you're here for so much more. And to give you a bit of background, Sabrina's done phase, I think she started with an Akashic record reading, but she's done phase 1 of mentorship with us, with both me and Stacey. And now she's currently in phase 2, which is really about becoming a spiritual mentor. But the work that we do in phase 1 and phase 2 is deep. Even phase 2, it is about becoming a spiritual mentor, but it's about, if you're going to become a spiritual mentor, you have to do the deep work yourself. So it does shine a light on even the deepest, darkest. So Sabrina, I'd love for you to talk about whatever you want to share about your journey, the healing journey, kind of any insights that you want to share. The floor is yours.
Yeah, so let's start with the beginning, I guess. When I first start the first phase of the program, like I said, I knew something was off in my life, but I didn't quite know what it was. I was somebody who I thought was taking good care of myself, but I wasn't going deep enough. And there was a lot of things that I was afraid to face. So it was really transformative experience to be able to go really deep on those subjects and have you both holding space for me. And I think the first thing that I really learned and that really changed everything is to love myself. That was really the first thing that blew my mind when I realized how much I didn't love myself. And I thought I was doing a good job, but then when you really go deep, you're like, wow, I actually don't treat myself like I should, or I let people treat myself in a way I should not be treated. And I knew I didn't deserve to be treated that way. And just to give a little bit of context, um, I was in an abusive relationship, but I didn't know it at the time at all. I was deeply in love. We got married like a year before I started the program, and I was really excited for this new life. I moved to United States, so I left my country, my native language. I left my tradition, my friend, my home, my car, my job, everything. I left everything behind for that new life because I had so much hope and I thought it would be really wonderful. But then things were not working. And I thought that was the problem. I was like, what's wrong with me? What is it that I'm not doing? I'm not doing enough. And I also have a background of people pleaser, and I am really sensitive. So I was always trying to do the right thing, be there for others. And I realized that I was not there for myself. I didn't take the time to be there for me and really listen to my feelings and intuition. Yeah, so that was really the first click that I have when I realized, like, damn, I don't deserve this. I deserve better than this. I need to put my boundary, to speak my truth, to, like, so many things just kind of pop, like, suddenly when I finally realized that I have value and I matter. Who I am, what I have to give, is precious. And, I need to be in a safe place to be able to truly embody who I am and get to know myself. Because, after 30 years of being a person, it's hard to change. And that was the other topic. The first topic we talked about was change. And that was really funny because I am somebody who have done a lot of change in my life, but really superficial change, I could say, like changing physical appearance, moving, changing place, jobs, hobbies, whatever. But change is so much deeper than that. And when you truly decide to change for yourself, it is hard. Like, and I like to say that it's not complicated, but it's not easy. um, so yeah, that was really the beginning of all of it, to realize my worth and be willing to change.
Yeah, I love that about you. I mean, it's just that, that what you've just said is kind of the embodiment of the phrase I know you love. I love so much, which is pain is inevitable, suffering is optional, and it's the realization that you fell in love, you were in a relationship, you got married, you moved, and that's all perfect, right? It's an example of what a soul contract is. It's that you connect with somebody, you feel aligned. And then as you do the deeper work, sometimes you realize you're not aligned. But are you brave enough to do something about it? And you were, so kind of led you on a path to move back home, I guess you could call it, and to start a new life. So well done, being very, very brave. Stacey, what's your thoughts on this? And I'm wondering if you've got a question for Sabrina you want to ask.
So I think the thing that I keep thinking about, because I'm a little bit behind you in this process, right? You're a little further along. You've had a little bit more time to digest it. What has the healing process been like as you have moved home back to your native country? You're surrounded by family. What has the transition been like to adjusting to this new season? And how have you done it?
Yeah, that's a good question. When I first came back, well, the end of that relationship was really unexpected and really traumatic because when you're with that kind of personality, um, you, it was like being at war. Like I don't know what it is to be at war, but I felt terrified. I was in a place where I really feel like I needed to save my life. So that was really challenging. And I was alone in another country with somebody that I used to love and trust. And now there was no trust and safety anymore. So when I finally arrived in my country, it was such a relief. And that is something that I feel really blessed about because I think ending relationship is hard, really hard. I didn't thought I could do it. I got married, so obviously it was for life for me. That was such a sacred promise that I made to the universe and to everybody. And for me to break that promise was extremely painful. But then I realized that I have to choose me over anything else. And so when I arrived, that's why I feel lucky because I had such a big distance. Some people, I'm sure it's take a long time to break up and to, get that distance from the relationship. But for me, it was really sudden. I took a plane, I came back, that's it. I mean, it was over and done. It was really, really sudden. So I think I was a little bit in shock at first. When I arrived at my parents' place, I fell down on my knee and cry and thank God to be safe and be with people who love and care for me. And it was such a relief. And that's where I realized how much in pain I was because I didn't allow myself to feel those feelings because I have to save myself. I have to be like I was a warrior. I was like, okay, you need to be perfect because I was in that situation where I couldn't tell the truth. I couldn't be transparent. I have to be really in control of everything I was saying, doing, feeling, because I didn't want anything to transpire that what was coming. So then when I finally was able to release, it was really amazing. I felt so, so, so blessed to be there, to be alive, to have the chance to have a new life and not have to live in fear anymore. So that was the first step. But then, I have to kind of dive back into it. And it's funny because it took such a long time. And I realized just right now how much I've changed, like you said, it's been like a little bit over a year. So I had the time to do a lot of healing and, I arrived. It's funny because I didn't want it to have to come back to Canada just before the winter because winter can be pretty rough. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be stuck somewhere, no car, like snow everywhere. And then that's exactly what happened. So I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to embrace this and use this season to rest and heal. And I was really confused. I didn't know what I had left, who I was, what I should do. And I think I was pushing myself too much to, okay, I need to get my life back on track. Okay, I'm back. I need to do this, that, ball. And then I was just like, no, okay, you just need to take this season to just be and to listen to whatever you have to feel. And I was really struggling to see people. I was afraid to see my family. We didn't go. I arrived back at November 2, November 2nd. So at Christmas, my parent and I decided that we're not going to see anyone. We're just going to stay home, the three of us, because it was pretty hard too for my parent to learn about everything that happened. I mean, they don't even know everything even now, but I was really alone in the United States living that. I was not talking to my friend or my parents about it because I didn't want them to worry. So when I arrived, it was a surprise for everyone. Nobody knew things were going so bad. So I was afraid to tell people the truth and everything, but I had some good friend that I could talk to about what happened. And I needed so much silence. And it's hard to find a balance because you can easily go into a dark place when you're in such a state of grief of your life, your relationship, who you were, the future you thought you would have. And I was back with absolutely nothing. And that was hard too. I worked so hard to build that life in the United States. And there I was with a backpack and a suitcase and nothing left of everything I invested in, my business, my friend there. And yeah, so I really needed to just be and process kind of what happened. And sometimes it was just so weird. I just needed to stare in silence and just be. And there was just so much emptiness, like nothing exists anymore. And I remember a time where I was really, it was nothing. It was nothing. Like I can't explain it really with words, but I had cried so much. I had been so much in pain and in fear because I didn't know what would happen next. And then there I was with nothing. I didn't know who I was anymore. It was so strange. But it was beautiful at the same time because I was like, I feel like everything crumbled and everything was destroyed. But then I was like, okay, well, if there's nothing left, who am I? What am I supposed to do? And then I realized I could be whoever I want and I can rebuild from scratch. I mean, there was nothing left. So, okay, let's start again. What do I want those foundation to look like? What kind of life I want to have? What kind of feeling I want to feel? What kind of person I want to be? What kind of friend I want to have surrounded me? Like what is the energy that, and like the profound values that's going to move me, and bring me back and build a new life, because the choice is infinite. Like we have so much possibility, and I think that journey really teach me how powerful we are, because I never thought I would be able to do that. Like when I was in the middle of it, and I'm going to be really honest here. Before I realized how bad my situation was, I know it was wrong, what was going on in my relationship, but I didn't know what to do about it. I mean, I tried everything. Like I really, and it was really a good practice place, if I could say it like that, like to respect myself, to trust myself, to put my boundaries. Like I did it all. And still, it was not working in my relationship, but in my life, I was getting better and better, and the better I got, the worse my relationship was. And at a point, because I was so stuck in my head, so stuck. And we are so much like our worst enemies sometimes. Like I didn't thought I could live a marriage because it was sacred. So I thought the only way that I could get out of it will be death. Like when one of us would die. I was like, well, one day, and we've been put in dangerous situations sometime. And I was like, well, you know what? One day, like an accident's going to happen and one of us will die. And if it's me, well, good, I'll be free. I'll be in the next step of my, soul's evolution or whatever. And if it's him, well, there you go. I'll start a new life again. And, but I thought it was so sad to think that the only way I could have a better life would be to die. And today it just blew my mind to think that I thought that way, that I was so stuck that I thought there was absolutely nothing else that I could do. Like leaving that relationship was not even an option. And it's crazy when you think about it because it's totally possible. But it was not. In my head, it was not at all. Like I see no way out. And that's why I said that sharing our story is so important, because there was a stage that it really got out of hand and I got physically hurt during an argument, and it was really traumatic. And then I was like, okay, this is dangerous. This is, I mean, I knew. I was like, okay, I need to get out of here. This is dangerous. And I had a coworker that I just met, and I remember hearing her say, I got out of an abusive relationship like years ago. And it's funny how I didn't see any correlation with my life or my relationship. But then after that accident, I knew, and I reached out to her, and we went to have a coffee, and I told her kind of what happened and how I feel. And, if she didn't have say that, I would have no one to turn to regarding what I was experiencing at that moment. And, it was funny because she just looked at me and she said, girl, you're in an abusive relationship. And it was like so honest, so clear, so true. And it just blew my mind because I think deep down I knew it, but I didn't want it to face it. And as soon as she said that, like, I couldn't see things other way. It was just so clear, and everything started to make sense and fall into place. And I was just like, wow, okay, now I understand. And it's like the wall that I put in front of me saying like, no, this is not it, because I wanted this relationship to work so much. I really wanted to work, and I couldn't believe that nothing could be done. And I was so hopeful and think that love can save us all. I thought that love, if I only have enough love to give, I could save him, I could save us. But at that point, it was not about that. It was really about safety and putting myself first. And that's where I start to take action to get out of there, because I knew that's what I had to do.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being so vulnerable. What you've just described is what a soul contract feels like. And then what rebirth feels like, right? It's that, we enter into a soul contract with so much hope, so much, and love and then it's our expectations, right? It's also our expectations of what others think of us. And, it's the realization that, you entered into that soul contract with full of love, full of hope, full of dreams, and things change and things shift. But the other beautiful thing is how the universe sends you people to give you nudges. And, so thank you for sharing so vulnerably. And I guess it's a beautiful time. I knew that when we suggested this podcast, it was going to be kind of a push, a nudge to maybe our listeners to ask that question is, who in your world has a soul contract been complete? Are you holding on to somebody or situations where maybe it is time to let go? And, a lot of the time when you're in those situations, you feel like you've got no hope, but it's making that decision that this soul contract has come to an end and taking some action. I feel like the universe does want to support us, but we have to take that action. So, even if one person is inspired by this episode to truly understand that that it's okay, right? It's like we enter it and we have these expectations, and once the soul contract comes to an end, if we stay in it, that's where suffering comes. And and it should come with a health warning, right? I mean, what Sabrina had to do was leave immediately. She took, she she knew that if she stayed in that situation, it could have got even more dangerous. So she escaped, and we'll move on to where her life is now in a little bit. But I did want to ask Sabrina before we move to Stacey, how does it feel to know, or maybe you don't, that the relationship, the marriage you had was a soul contract, and you wouldn't be where you are today. You wouldn't be the healer that you are today. You wouldn't be shining your light the way you are today if you hadn't had that experience. So how does it feel when I say to you that that was a soul contract? That was something that your soul had decided for you to go through to expand you, to connect you to this version of you. How does that make you feel?
It totally resonate, because this relationship, first of all, I don't regret anything. I am really glad I jumped into that relationship. I know I will wonder my entire life what it would have been if I haven't done it. And I didn't regret any of it, because yes, it was painful, but I really love that person, and we also have wonderful moment together. And I want to cherish the good part, and I want to learn from the bad part. And that's what bring me to you guys, right? And in this relationship, well, I got to learn to speak English, which I will not be speaking with you right now if I have not been in that relationship. But I mean, I learned a great deal about so many things, especially myself, but also relationship. And that was the beginning of something big. And yes, it was an experience that really changed and shaped my life, really changed me forever. But yeah, it brought me to learn so much about myself. And then it was kind of a spiral when I came back, because I wanted to work so much on my healing that I just start to notice everything that was relating to one and another. And I was like, okay, I was like in a relationship with like a narcissistic person, and then I start to see pattern in my life. And I came back to my parents' place, which was a really heavy energy place, if I can say. I've been a teenager there, and I experienced all kinds of things, and it was painful memory. And there was my relationship with my dad. And so when I came back, I was like, throw back there, but then I was completely different. I was a complete different person, but in a place that resonates so much with the old me. So it was really challenging, but also really interesting to see, the new versus the old, and what I used to think and what I'm thinking now. So I was really going into a deep spiral of, oh my God, this is happening, like all the trauma that happened and why this and that. And I started to make all kinds of link with like, my childhood and everything and experience, and brought me to where I was. So yeah, definitely it was a soul contract, because it brought so much more to me than just like that experience. It was clearly linked to everything I had lived and experienced before, like brought me there to be able to go back on all of this and to make me who I am today. So yeah.
Wow. Thank you for that. And I love how, the realization that this was a soul contract, and, everything you've described is really sometimes when we start this spiritual journey, there's a feeling that, once we become spiritual, everything becomes so easy and ease and grace. And, we're a soul having human experience. So, the spiritual journey does awaken something in us, but actually it also shines a light on the areas that need releasing. So, this journey isn't meant to be, doesn't have to be complicated. It can be simple, but it's definitely not easy. So, thank you for sharing that. And I just wanted to point out, it's that wherever you are on your spiritual journey, if you're going through something difficult, it is helping you, it is expanding you, it is teaching you something. Sometimes we feel that, once we understand and we connect to our guides, everything becomes ease and grace. But we're meant to have a human experience. We're meant to go through things painful because that's what expands us. So, and if you listen to this and it's triggering you, or maybe it's helping you understand what's happening in your world, please be gentle with yourself and understand that, like Sabrina's case, it's like once you start to show up for yourself, the universe does want to help you, does want to support you. Your guides can't stop you going through something painful, but they can support you. They can send you people to help along the way. And I love this conversation so much. And, because, if we look at Stacey's example, she made a decision on a relationship, which we've talked about in earlier episodes, because wasn't the end of that soul contract. It wasn't because she fell out of love or anything, but it was just a realization that that they wanted different things. So, Stacey, I'd love to hear from you in terms of your feeling around soul contracts and the realization that, you were going down one direction and you went down another. And then hearing Sabrina, how does this make you feel? Anything you want to share that's in your heart?
Yeah, I mean, my circumstances, like there's some similarities to me and Sabrina, and then there's definitely some differences, right? I wasn't in an abusive relationship. I was in a beautiful long distance relationship that was really fulfilling for 2.5 years. And I have to say, I don't know that I've accepted yet that soul contract is done. We still stay in touch. I still have so much love for Barney. I miss him terribly. I'm still going through like the grief and the sadness. And I know that I made the right decision, but I'm still going through the layers of acceptance and grief and sadness that go along with such a heavy decision. And I think it's a lot harder to end a relationship when you still love the person. I think that when you have something pivotal happen that breaks the relationship apart or blows it up, it's a lot easier to end that soul contract and say, I'm done. But when you still have love for the person and it's simply about your life circumstances, I think it can be even more challenging to work through. And for me, I'm inspired by Sabrina right now because she's further along in the journey than I am, and I'm watching her flourish. I'm watching her live her best life. We haven't talked about partnership now and what life looks like now, but she's in a really beautiful space, and it inspires me to keep going, that all the pain is going to be worth it, and that at some point I'm going to be looking at this beautiful life that I've created. I just would love to know the timeline, right? It would be nice to know, like, okay, it's going to take you about a year to pull your shit together. Like, it would just be nice to have that reassurance, but we don't get that, right? Like,
Exactly.
we have to just let it play out. And yet, when I see someone who's gone through such a significant transition, it motivates me to keep going because I can see where Sabrina was and what was happening when she was in the thick of it and trying to leave and leaving with just the basic necessities and heading home and being with her parents and reestablishing her life. There was so much pain that we saw during that time, right? There was so much heartbreak and so much hurt. And now she's freaking glowing, and I'm like, okay, if Sabrina can glow, then I can too, right? It just gives me this excitement to think that at some point I am going to feel that way again.
I love it. And Stacey, just so you know, I still see you shine. So I get you don't always see it. But again, this is what I'm saying. I love the duality and the kind of this conversation, because a soul contract can come to an end when you still love somebody, and a new soul contract can start. So I think, Stacey, your example is, for me, if I was to put it into words, there is a version of yours and Barney's connection that in some way comes to an end for a new one to be created. So soul contracting ending, it's like our blood family is an example. It's like ending a soul contract with a blood family doesn't mean they don't have to be, they leave your life. Sometimes it does, but it means you take your power back and something different comes along. So, which is why I love this conversation, because it just gives us examples, right? Some soul contract comes to an end and you just want to cut that person off and you're done. And, kind of a new version of you is born. Another soul contract, you still love that person, but circumstances have changed. So what you want together isn't the same anymore. So you're still in each other's world, but it's different. And I love just, sharing that with our audience to just realize that there is different ways things work out, right? It doesn't have to be as black and white, or but again, it's all hard, right? But both of what you both of what you guys are talking about is just that example. And so Sabrina, I'd love for you to talk about where you are now. You kind of gone on this journey, and you talked about moving back, and Stacey talked about your light being so different, and kind of. So talk about this phase of your journey. Where are you now? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, I had a question first for Stacey, if it's okay, because I did think about you, ending the relationship with someone you love, and I believe this is so courageous. I don't know how long it took you to realize that and take action, but I was wondering, because when I took the decision, everything happened so quick. Like in a few days, I took my decision, I think like 48 hours before I leave, and everything fall into place so quick. And I couldn't believe it. Like things worked out. Like, when the universe want to support you, it does. So I'm wondering if you experienced something similar, if the decision was like really clear, or it kind of was subtle, or I'm kind of curious to see if you felt supported by the universe in your decision.
So I would say the only peaceful part of this was the decision. And it just kind of came to me. Barney was traveling with his kids. We had very limited contact during that time. And it just kind of came to me that I needed to be here, and not there. And for a variety of reasons, like I needed to end it. And when I had that realization, it was the only night that I slept through the night and didn't wake up in a cold sweat, didn't wake up anxious, didn't wake up upset. Since then, right, I've still been experiencing all of those things. But in the moment of making the decision, it just felt very clear that I was doing the right thing. And it was only a small window of time where I felt like I was doing the right thing, because then I had to pull the trigger, right? And I had to actually do the hard work of saying, I'm sorry, but I can't be in this relationship. And now I've upended my life. I had this whole plan of what I was going to do and how it was going to work and what I was going to execute to move forward. And now all of that has changed. So the only moment of peace I had was in the decision. In the taking action, it's been really challenging. But I just keep going back to reminding myself of that moment when I knew that this was the right thing. And I just keep on holding on to that and hoping that that guides me.
Thanks for sharing, Stacey. That's so beautiful. And it's just, just another example of how, when you're open to that clarity, it comes through. Does it make it easier, as you said? But yeah, so Sabrina, going back to your question, or my question to you, where are you on your journey now? What's happening in your world? To Stacey's point, you're still working through, whatever comes through next. It's probably a lifetime experience, but what do you want to share about where you are now and what's happening in your world?
Well, now I think I'm in a really beautiful space. It's still hard sometimes, and I think it's important to look back on everything that we've been through, because sometimes I tend to forget how courageous I was and everything I did that I didn't thought I was able to do. So, and I moved to a place where my family came from, like my ancestors came from, and I'm really glad to be there. I wanted to live there for such a long time, but I actually never really quite, I don't know, have the guts to do it. And now that I have a second chance, I really see it as a second chance in life. I'm going to do everything I wanted to do and didn't have the courage to do before. So I'm really grateful to be here on the podcast with you, because I wanted to start my podcast as well for such a long time. So this is a really nice icebreaker for me. And so I'm just going to accomplish all the dream that I have, because I know now that everything is possible. So I had an illustration business before. I had an injury on my hand related to that relationship. So I put that on the side for the entire year, but now I'm building my new business, which is going to be based on 3 pillars. That is art, nature, and spirituality. This is 3 things that I really, really cherish, and I want my life to be that every day. Every day I want to, be in contact with nature. I want to share my wisdom with people. I want to create connection and community. And I know how important it is. We are entering into that phase where we need to be together. That experience really teach me how important it is to have a support system, but not only with people surrounding you, but also with yourself. I think you need to be your best friend in life, your best supporter. You always need to be there for yourself. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to make new friend and be in that new space in my life. It's really inspiring because now I'm full of hope. Not only hope, but I have faith. Now I know. There's a difference between I hope and I know, and now I know. So it's all gonna be all right. It's all gonna go where it should go, and I just need to be patient. Like Stacey said, there's not like you don't know when it's going to be, how long it's going to take. And, we're still going to have ups and downs. Sometimes I feel frustrated because, oh no, I'm down now. But then it's like, yeah, but that's just part of it, like it's part of life. And we just need to embrace everything that it brings to us and learn to listen and be willing to listen.
That's beautiful. And I wish we had a time frame, right? I wish we had a timetable of how, it just doesn't kind of work that way though, right? Time is a human concept. Who knows? But Sabrina, you're in phase 2 of our mentorship program, which is really guides you to be that healer, to understand, kind of how your light is. And it's like phase 1 is very much internal. Phase 2 is very much continue the internal work, but also how you're going to use that externally. So before I hand over to Stacey, I'd love for you just to talk more about how does it feel to be in that phase where you're truly activating that light, that healer in you, guiding you to kind of guide others. How does that feel?
It's I would say it's a challenge, but it's also such a gift, because most of my life I thought I was not enough, or why me. And I think so many of us think that of ourselves and don't think we deserve or are able to do those kind of thing. And I am really proud of myself for being willing to do this and to really embody what I can do. And I think before, my gift were more of a curse in the life that I was living, because I was so sensitive to everything that it was really hard to live life like others. And I've been told so many times that I was too sensitive for this world that we're living in. And now I know that it's not a curse, it's a gift. And it's just because I haven't learned how to use it. And my life was not reflecting of the life that I wanted or should had. So yeah, this new phase is really about stepping into my power and trust. And I believe that fear is the indicator that you have reached the limit of your comfort zone. So when you feel it, I know I had to push it. So today I was nervous. I was afraid. I was like, oh my God, we're going to record an episode. Oh, I don't know if I'm ready. How should I get ready for it or whatever? And I'm just like, okay, well, just trust, it's going to happen like it should happen. Just take care of yourself and be your best self like you always do. And it's going to be all right. So that's kind of how I see this process in the phase 2. Even if I'm full of doubt sometime, I'm just like, you're there. Like Nim and Stacey believe so much in yourself. You need to believe in you too. And yeah, I think it's unfolding beautifully, and there's no timeline. It's going to take the time that it needs for me to go where I want to go. And yeah, I'm excited to see where it brings me.
That's so beautiful. So beautiful. Such an inspiration. Just so you know, Sabrina goes through, while we're holding our space, she goes through ups and downs too. So, but Sabrina, you've just been so natural today. So I'm so proud of you. Stacey, how are you feeling about this conversation, and kind of any insights or general promise you want to share with the audience?
I think it's been a powerful conversation, and I really believe that it's going to inspire our listeners to take a closer look at the relationships they have in their lives and make sure that you're living in alignment with what you feel is right for you. I would encourage you to take some time to journal and ask yourself, do the relationships that are in your life currently align with the path that you want to follow? Do you feel that those relationships are lifting you up and inspiring you to be the best version of yourself? And if not, ask yourself why. What's holding you back from cultivating relationships out of true authenticity and love and vulnerability? Have you been attracting people that are not aligned with that? Really take some time to delve into this and just see what you uncover about the relationships that you currently have in your life. And if you feel like you're struggling with those relationships, reach out for support to somebody that you feel you can confide in. I think the biggest takeaway for me from this is, I think oftentimes when we are going through something and we're not feeling supported or we're churning about it, we tend to isolate and to not give ourselves the space to be supported by our friends and our family. And I really think those relationships can be life-saving in times where we're feeling churned up about a relationship in our life. And so I encourage you, if you're feeling isolated at this time, to dig a little bit deeper and ask yourself why. And is the relationship that you're in actually serving you? And is it for your highest good? If it's not, maybe it's time to take a closer look and see what you need to do to change it.
So true. I love it. So Sabrina, as we start to close out this episode, I'd love for you to share any advice you have for anyone that kind of maybe this episode triggered or feel like they're looking for that inspiration to make a shift, and also how people can reach out to you. Obviously, we'll include your links and stuff in the show notes, but anything you want to share in terms of what your advice to people were, and if somebody wants to reach out, what would that look like?
Yeah, I think what Stacey said really resonate. Yeah, really look out for the people who you trust, that you can be honest with. Be honest with yourself too. I think that's a hard part. And I'm just thinking of a question you both asked me when we first started the program. It was, are you willing to disappoint others to be true to yourself? And that was such a hard question for me because, you know, yeah, it's hard to disappoint the people we love, or we think we disappointed them, but there's no better way to be than to be true to yourself. And at the end of the day, you're going to inspire everyone around you by being who you really truly meant to be, because hiding who you are because you don't want to disturb other is no service to anyone. So yeah, find a way, find place people where you can truly be yourself. I think it's really precious, and learn to know who you truly are, because we've been some of us have been living um life that are so not like us. So it's hard to know who we are, and it takes time. So be willing to re-examine, because I've been on that process now. And sometimes you're like, okay, this is me, and then you're like, oh no, okay, it's switching again. It's changed, and it's part of life. So do that exercise often to look into yourself to see who you are now, what do you want, and how can you be supported by what you're doing. Do things that makes you feel good. Spend time in nature. You say it often, but I truly believe that is really important. That is something that really opened up my mind to safety. I felt so safe, close to nature. It makes me understand how much supported I am, even if there's no physical people around me. If nature is there, I know I'm safe, because nature is everything and provide for everything we need. So for me, it's a big safety area. So yeah, find a way to connect with yourself and nature, and a place where you feel safe.
And I'll include links and stuff for Sabrina if you want to reach out to her. She's, like I said, she's in the phase of being in phase 2, and I'm sure she's creating some amazing things. So I would I would connect with her on social media and just watch and just be inspired by what she's creating. And I'm so inspired by both of you. And it's like your vulnerability to share and kind of guide people on their journey. That one line, "Are you willing to disappoint us to be true to yourself?" is one of my favorite things. If anyone's interested, it actually comes from my favorite poem. It's called "The Invitation" by Radia, the Mountain Dreamer. At some point, I'm sure I'll read it out, but and I'm sure I've done it previously. But it is a beautiful question. Are you willing to disappoint another to be true to yourself? Our programming kind of forces us to put everybody else first, but the phase we're in right now, I feel like we're going into a phase of completion, which is a beautiful time to look at your soul contracts, look at who's in your world, and ask that question. Is my soul contract with them done? As Stacey was talking, is it, because it's time to create space in your world for new people, for a new soul family who are going to hold your space unconditionally, who are going to allow you to transition. And maybe you already have them in your world, and if you do, great, beautiful, you've already manifested that. But if you don't, maybe it's time to manifest it. So if this episode triggered you in any way, if it shone a light, sending you so much love and light, I'm not going to apologize for it, because that's what we do. If you feel like we can help you, me and Stace, we channeled a mentorship program. So if you feel like we can hold your space together individually, please reach out. We offer a free discovery call. I am starting a membership. Actually, I'm going to release this on. It's going to be a couple of days after this when I release this, but it's going to start on 12/12. It really is about creating a safe space. I realize there's a gap between the podcast and kind of the work that I do. So the membership is a great way of just feeling the love of a community, getting guidance on the current energy, exclusive meditations, etc. So it's just my way of giving back. Reach out if it's something you're interested in. Thank you both for being so beautiful, shining lights, sharing your vulnerability, sharing your stories. Proud of both of you for how you're shining your light. Sabrina, thank you for being brave and reaching out and being on this podcast. I'm sending everybody so much love and light. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And like I said, if this episode triggered you, then maybe it's a sign to do something different. Sending everyone so much love and light, and we'll be back soon. Bye for now.